What is up, fight felines? We had so many good cat fights last night. Let's be real. It was kind of a night of the rear naked choke, a lot of finishes, hardly a decision, and every decision was pretty much a war. Wow.
Woo! Yeah! Blood, war, violence, expression.
I'm so impressed with everybody who showcased themselves on that card. The Apex is a bit of a downer because I really want to hear, the whole crowd erupt in those amazing moments, but nonetheless, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful night. Let's go over the entire thing, cover the card, little dynamic review. So many fierce felines, so many fierce catfights. Before we start, a little late to the punch on this one, but for our breaking news from earlier last week, I am not exactly a fan of more vacated belts, of vacated title fights. I wish Islam would have stayed. And since, it was already too late with Ilya, we knew. But that story's over. The vacated belt is no longer vacant for featherweight, but I am a little disappointed in just the rush to a title shot and again another vacated belt. It's just a little exhausting. It feels like there's kind of a lot of untold stories when everyone is kind of hustling around and leaving the belt, not doing like a double. I feel like if you're gonna go and fight for another belt, maybe defend the current one as well. I know that kind of can lead to holding up of a division. That's why I just wish we wouldn't. I wish we wouldn't. And it's just too much. I'm not a fan, but I am a really big fan of DDP versus Hamzat, especially in Chicago, hoping that I can go see it in real life, but really excited just because that is going to be such fireworks, such violence. I know a lot of people are thinking that that's going to be, Hamza is going to be what does DDP in. I know that it's going to be super competitive and those guys just don't have a lot of quit in them. And finally, Hamza can, let's go, bring him into Chicago. And more middleweight madness with RDR getting booked against Robert Whitaker. That is really exciting. I think that is going to be an awesome fight and just so thrilled to see where RDR is going, and Bobby Knuckles is one of my favorites. We had so many stars, and I gotta say, once again, it's great to have Paul Felder on the team. He just cares so much, and he does so much research on everybody, and that is somebody who I hope to emulate one day with how Paul can really break things down, but he just humanizes people. He's a sweetheart. We got started with a great fight. As predicted, I knew that this one was going to be a lot of fireworks because both of these ladies are known for their ferocity. Tisha Pennington with that number 13 spot going against Luana Pinheiro, who is number 15 and was coming in on a 3-fight losing streak, so a little bit more at stake for sure, especially because Tisha has been in the UFC as long as they've been letting women fight, so has, really cemented her legacy already. But doesn't mean she didn't come out fierce again, of course. Round one of this women's strawweight bout, Tisha Tiny Tornado was looking like the crisper boxer. She was being able to put the combinations together more effectively, definitely landing a lot and closing the space as she needs to, because Luana, that's what she likes to play with, is creating weird angles, and Tisha was not having it. She was closing that gap. But then by round two, you could see that Luana made some pretty effective adjustments and was controlling the space more in that second round. And she was actually leading a little bit in the strikes, whereas in the other round, it was like Tisha was ahead, I think, both in the accuracy and the amount of strikes that she was landing. We saw Luana catch up a little bit in that second round. And by round three, I think if I watched it again, maybe it'd be more clear, but it felt like it was 1-1 at that point. Tisha does what she loves to do and continues to turn up the volume, turn up the intensity, and throws in, I think, 2 or 3 side hook kicks to a spinning back fist. A couple of them, I think one of them lands pretty good, so that was pretty great. Luana's going after the takedown against the fence. She does a lot of really good work in the clinch against the fence, especially. That's where she feels at home. But Tisha is up quick, so not a lot of significant control time there, but she does score. Luana scores a couple more judo style takedowns because that's part of her background, but it's not enough. and we get a unanimous decision win for Tisha Pennington. Really well fought fight. A lot of crisp striking in there. That was a great pace. Those women, baddies. Not good for Luana though, because now she's on a 4 fight losing streak, and that is pretty tough. I really hope that the UFC keeps her around because she's a really exciting fighter, brings the energy, and she has some great skill. And it's not like she got outdone by, some scrub. It's Tisha Pennington. So I really hope Luana sticks around. I hope they keep her and we see her soon. Then we have a men's flyweight bout between Hyung Sung Park and Carlos Hernandez, and this one was fireworks. Okay, Hyung Sung is he's historical because he is the first ever road to the UFC tournament winner, the season 1 tournament winner. So he is I guess he will always be a mascot for that. And oh boy, he really put on the violence. He showed so much so quickly. So while we ended in round 1, so much happened in that very quick round, half of a round. Hyung Sung came out just with all the skills. He was piecing up Carlos right away, and after a couple of really brutal knees, piecing him up, he's leaning over, times him with the knee, so solid, so crisp, gets the takedown. Okay, so with everything, he gets the takedown, and he quickly ties him up in a body triangle, and that is one of many body triangles that we see throughout the night, and he chokes him into submission. Classic rear naked choke halfway through round 1, barely took a scratch. He'll be ready to fight next week. Hyung Sung Park looking so cool. Then we have a women's strawweight bout between Elise Reed and Denise Gomez, a pretty significant age gap going into this one, and Denise was all fire right away. Round 1 was violence early, and Denise wobbles Elise with a solid punch, and the chicken legs ensue. We get a little bit of chicken legs, but Elise survives because she's really tough, has taken a bit of damage by that point already, and gets controlled for the rest of the round. Then we find ourselves to round 2, and you can see that Elise is dropping her left hand a lot, like, all the way down by the waist, and that's already a bad sign. And before I can even really fully consider it, she gets hit flush, and she is dropped, okay? And the fight, in my opinion, probably could have been over by then, but she does kind of pop up a little bit, okay? And then Denise hits her again, and her face just like against the fence, like, and then she is cascading to the floor, and Jason Herzog says, why not give her a couple more strikes while she's down? And so Denise's like, kind of like, okay, hits her a few more times. Herzog jumps in there, ends the fight. That was such power. Denise Gomez with some frightening strength with that TKO within 30 seconds of round 2. Another quick end, and things are rolling. So we had a fiery decision, and then we got 2 finishes, and then we move on to Luana Santos versus Tanara Lisboa, which, spoiler, had a very exciting end as well. Women's bantamweight, we'd love to see more women's bantamweights fights. The women's flyweight and strawweight divisions, flyweight especially, really stacked. We're hoping for more bantamweight competition, more exciting fights, and boy, was this. Luana Santos, you better watch out for her. So she actually is moving up from flyweight to bantamweight, so that's kind of cool and fun. Yes, but Lisboa had been unbeaten for 4 years on a 5-fight win streak and looking to honor her mother. So really going in there with a lot of focus, and you could see it. So Luana was controlling and got a judo throw right away and had Lisboa on the ground, but Lisboa was really effective in her defense, at least in that first round, and she was preventing a lot of damage. It was kind of a bit of a slow round in many ways because just not a lot. It was all control. There was not a lot of damage, and Lisboa was surviving. She was surviving, and we got to our feet in the final seconds, but that was a control round for Santos. Then round 2, we find ourselves in a very similar place, kind of, a little slow. Santos is on top, and this time though she's controlling from the side. So before it was just full mount, a little bit of a different positioning here, and not a lot of damage or urgency, but we got a couple of seconds And all of a sudden, with 1 second to go, Luana Santos secures the first ever Americana choke by a woman in the UFC. Oh, oh, oh. That was legendary. That was nasty. Got a tap to survive. I really hope that Tianara's elbow is okay because that one looked brutal. 1 second to go in round two. Americana submission for Santos, the first ever for a woman in the UFC. Okay, that's right. So, you know what? If we're at the apex, the least that could happen is a little bit of history. Then we had a featherweight fight between Yadier Del Valle and Connor Matthews, which did not make its way into my breakdown. I don't know when they added that fight, but I didn't, unfortunately. Anyway, not much to say because we were done so quick. So, Valet right away getting work done with the low kicks, and you could, they sounded rough, and you could see it was putting Connor a bit on the back foot. But then we find ourselves with DeValle on top, gets the takedown right, a serious one, and is putting in some huge damage before he flattens Connor. You know how it is. And we get another rear naked choke, sinks it in, round one, DeValle. Hello. And apparently, according to British John, him and his wife are opening a Cuban restaurant in Texas, and that is really cool. And I wish those little entrepreneurs the best of luck. Then we had the much anticipated return of Jared Gordon. Missed him going against Thiago Moises, who is very, very hype, extremely skilled, especially in that BJJ world. And this was actually the only pick'em matchup. I don't really pay attention to that super deeply because I'm against betting. Spoiler, okay. But that was the only matchup that Vegas felt like it was a toss up. There was no way to know. Spoiler, it was another quick one. Round one, both men are connecting. Jared finds himself on top for a few minutes early, but everybody's bleeding. Both men are bleeding until clean overhand right on the jaw, the perfect counter. Boxing King Jared Gordon sits, lays down, I guess, Thiago Moises KO, round one KO because he was gonzo. Round one KO, Jared Gordon. Gotta give a shout out to Diamond Recovery, who he works with, helping people with mental health or addiction struggles, as well as Fight Story, partners with them as well, helping combat athletes specifically who are struggling with mental health. He is such a humanitarian. That's the first thing he does, right, when he gets the mic, is try to help people. Love it. So that was amazing. We did not get to see a lot from either man, but it was really cool to see Jared Gordon get back with such a flawless knockout. I mean, we had canceled bout. I really missed him. Great, great comeback. It's not, well, return. Welcome back. And then we had our featured prelim, two men of God, two very devout Christians, Gabe Green and Mathis Camillo, lightweight fight. Round one was definitely like a feel 'em out round with a lot of position fighting against the fence, like about 2 minutes of that. With about a minute to go, Camillo gets a pretty nice takedown. And it's looking a little bit more like Camillo's fight. He's on top again in round two, but then Green reverses the position and he gets a slam, a big one. And now he's got Camillo trapped in a body triangle, and we know how that has been in general. But the story of this card could very well be rear naked choke, because we got another one. Round two, Green was able to get that rear naked choke after a great reversal of position and a massive slam, trapped him in that body triangle. And then we made our way to the main card. First fight on the main card was the fight I think I was most looking forward to seeing, and boy, did it live up. Boy, did it live up. Boy, did these men live up to their expectation, of which I held them. Julian Erosa versus Melquizael Costa, men's featherweight. Wow. I just know that these guys are both, they have such great skill, but they're such corksters, and they both have such individuality. They're very different people, and you could really see it in there. You could see it in Julian's eyes that he was doing what he does, looking for the finish of every single second of every single round. And I love to see that. I love to see him hunting. You could see Melky Zael with he's always very brave, you know. He doesn't have any fear and he's bouncing around trying to figure it out. Both men putting it toe to toe, finding their moments like such an exciting round of striking. Julian took some pretty big punches from Melky right away in that first round. Just took him like a champ. Both guys coming in with a pretty decent win streak as well. Lots of momentum. Round two, exactly what I expected. Again, fight of the night type stuff. These are my guys. These are my guys. Seriously, it's back and forth war again. The entire round, no fear, all belief, all skill. Costa just a little bit more of the accurate striker it seems, but it's just like while you're watching it, you're caught up. You're kind of like who's winning because you're just so caught up in it. Because it's so miraculous to see. Just bam, bam, bam. Round three, back against the fence, but similar to round two, we get an absolute war. Okay, we just keep the cardio and that pace into round three. So exciting, just trading, exchanging. No one is budging, like that. No one is getting cracked. Both men are just toes down. So inspiring. I'm inspired. I was inspired after watching that. You know, I'm just sitting there like this, and I just kind of, you know, don't can't even keep track of who's winning because I'm in just awe, such awe of what I saw transpire. I wish that was a 5 round fight. It was just looking so good, and unanimous decision win for Melky was just able to do a little bit more on that output, land a bit more. That was like an all striking fight, all in the feet, all boxing too. Not even a lot of leg kicks. Now Melky is on a 5 fight win streak. He is seriously on his way to the top. That was such an incredible performance for both of those guys. That is probably my fight of the night.
Melky, he can't be tamed.
Then we had another pretty bloody war between Dustin Stolfus versus Nursultan Ruziboev. So Ruzi Boev. He's only 31, but he came into this with the most pro fights on the card, and I think he's the tallest person as well, with it being a miraculous 6'5". Round one was a pretty ferocious and ended in a bit of back and forth at the end. Round two, both guys found an even amount of ground control time, so that was a bit of a ground battle. Blood is pouring out of Dustin's face. Ends with Ruzi in control there. Yeah, a lot of blood for that one. Same thing round three. Blood, war, violence, expression. Ruzi was just a little bit more in control there. Gets the unanimous decision win. That one was a real grind fest. That one was a grind fest. Then we had two guys who were simultaneously making their lightweight debut, interestingly, Sadiq Youssef and Marin Santos. Marin and Sadiq definitely put on a clinic in there. Very competitive, a lot of clinch, mostly on the feet for the entire time. But Marin was just able to do a little bit more, and I think he edged out every round just by a little bit. Just by a little bit, but that was very exciting. Pretty good pace. We get another unanimous decision for Santos. He just was in control, and I think as he put it, he outgunned him. And then we got some bad news. Way too late for me to be okay with it.
No, please, why?
Well, I hope that Rodolfo is okay because it's got to be something crazy, right? If it's right before we're supposed to be getting into the octagon that this news is breaking, it must have been something significant. I still don't know what it is. I think they're gonna rebook that fight. I hope so. I was getting excited, especially about Paul Craig. I was getting amped up. But okay, so co-main canceled, and we make our way to the much anticipated main event. Gilbert Burns putting that number 8 spot against Michael Morales, coming in at number 12 for some crazy welter. We've had a lot of welterweight drama, more welterweight drama here. Gilbert Burns, the veteran, the legend. He's on my wall. He's actually on my wall over there. Gilbert is so cool, so great, so accomplished, and this fight, it was so hype because it really is the biggest name, and you know, I thought it was going to be the biggest test that Morales was gonna face. Morales, so sweetly inspired by his mom, a judo legend herself, really instilling that judo foundation, even though he is known for being a striker and definitely puts it on the feet. But he always has that judo, and man, what a sweetheart. Coming in undefeated, 17-0, absolutely insane. It's such a massive moment for the sport, really, because this was a preview into I think, our future welterweight champion. He's really close to the top at this point. This fight barely happened, and by that I mean we were done very early, like many of the fights. Round one, Gilbert gets a takedown, but Morales is really quick to get back up on his feet, and he unleashes his power, and he lands huge. Morales is really good at creating angles against the fence. It's like we've done this twice in a row in a way with the previous Magny fight. Little different, of course, but in this case, he breaks away from Gilbert and unleashes just a absolute massive right hand, and he is so powerful. Michael Morales can drop people when he's not even using like his hips when he's hand punching. You know, his feet are off the canvas while he's punching, and it's still enough to sit you down. And it sits Gilbert down, and he follows him to get a little bit of ground and pound in there as well. And the fight's over. TKO round one for Michael Morales. He loves his mother. Goes and gives her the sweetest hug, one of the sweetest hugs I've ever seen. What a beautiful relationship, and yeah, such a young man to be proud of. That right hand is so deadly, and it just opens it up. And wow, he really is on his way to the title. I think Michael Morales is so for real. I really want to see him fight Ian Machado Gary. I know that he would like that as well, but his main request was to be put on the card in Guadalajara, which I think would be perfect. I think that's a really good timeline. He could fight next week because he didn't take any damage, but I think that just makes a lot of sense. That would be a really another great hype to add to that card. What a crazy night. Hello at the Apex. Not a lot of screaming, but I mean, I was, but great night. So many rear naked chokes, so many finishes. Every decision was absolutely exciting. Totally delivered. Above expectations for sure. I do think that my fight of the night has got to be Julian Erosa versus Melky Zael Costa. Melky Costa cannot be tamed. He cannot be stopped. And that was so brilliant. I'm gonna have to watch that fight back, get hype again. Excited to see what's next for Melky. Julian, I know they're gonna keep him around too because that was just so fabulous. I think performance of the night has got to go to Luana Santos for achieving history, first ever Americana submission by a woman in the UFC. That is just so cool. But there was just so many shining stars. It's so hard to pick a performance of the night, fight of the night, all this stuff for this card because so many people just really showed out. Every fight showed out, I guess. Because there were definitely some people who lost that night, as there always are. But you know what I mean. What was your favorite moment? What do you think is next for Michael Morales? What do you think is next for Gilbert Burns? And what do we think about the cancellation of that co-main event? I'm sad. And let me know whatever else. Here is our song of the night. Okay, capturing the vibes. Let me know if you have a different one, of course. Always happy to share. And let me know anything else.